Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jack. Back again to bring you Mythic Eonar from healer point of view. Everything you need to know about getting this boss down, keeping people topped off. For starters, not much has changed since Heroic. Very, very little, in fact. So, the general priority here is, of course, you're still playing tower defense. You're making sure that you're killing any of the large mobs. Generally, just as a priority, because everyone's going to love to AoE on some of the smaller mobs. And the real gist of it here is just making sure you're splitting up your healers, just that you're able to make sure you're going from platform to platform as needed to be able to keep people topped, but also so that you're always going to have healer friends nearby. The big mythic change is, of course, you're going to be actually boarding the ship, boarding the vessel that you're going to be seeing, which is just off the coast of Eonar or wherever. So behind Eonar, and you're going to see this a little bit later in the video as I go on myself, behind Eonar, she will basically put up little flowers. You stand into the flowers, and then they transport you to the vessel. And you have to kill one mob. And in order to get out, you have to have all 4 of the members who go in with you click a crystal, which gives you a different kind of debuff. And with that debuff, you basically just have to carry it around with you for the rest of the fight, which again prevents you from actually going to the ship again. So with this, you have a rotating crew. Bring 1 healer, bring the rest as DPS. Get on the ship, kill the mob, get off the ship, and then deal with the rest of the debuff for that fight. For the healers, it's a yellow debuff. It's a yellow crystal that you're going to actually pick up. And the reason that you want the healers to have this is that every single time you walk, it actually deals damage to you. So ideally, you want to make sure that it's always going to be on the healer, so that way they can just self-heal, and you never really were going to get into the situation where somebody is trying to travel across the map or go from A to B, and they're going to be taking heavy damage and can't really do anything about it. The priority here is just going to be making sure that, you know, one of the healers is able to get this debuff, and you really just have to limit your mobility because you will start taking pretty heavy ticking damage from it. Generally speaking, the only way that you're really going to be dying here is going to be either just failing by not killing certain mobs, which is one thing we actually had a couple of issues with this fight because it is about 8.5 minutes. The scary part about this is that people really like to blow up the things that make their DPS look bigger and bigger, even though in Warcraft logs this fight no longer counts for all-star points. So it can be kind of scary, for example, when you need to get 1 mob worth of points and everyone wants to AoE the bat that just came out, and you have a Fell Lord at 10% that nobody hits. So we had a couple wipes to that. We had a couple, and again, it just wastes immense amounts of time because for all intents and purposes, this is the giving tree. This boss will just spew out some free loot as long as people are going to the pads properly, and as long as you're splitting up your groups appropriately so that you will be able to have, you know, full coverage whenever needed. Usually what we did is we had 2 to 3 groups. We had, you know, the upper group, which is usually where I was a part of, so it was myself and a Mistweaver monk. I didn't really have a preference of playing Holy or Disc in this fight, so when I was streaming, I just let my chat vote for it. They voted to see me play Disc, and it wasn't that bad. It was kind of annoying, I will admit, but it wasn't that bad. You basically just have to find mobs, glue yourself to some mobs, and start whacking away. And even then, you know, you can be using some Shadow Mends, you can be using some Direct Penances if you really needed to. But for the most part, the healing at this point is not very intensive, so it didn't hurt just to let the monk do his thing and get some good heals out of it, because the heals are not super intensive, and you don't want to just burn your mana down for no good reason, because at some points you may actually need to just be very aggressive with your mana to ensure that, you know, somebody's going to be able to stay alive. One thing to kind of keep in mind is that at different points of the fight, Eonar will actually just help you in killing some of these mobs. So for many points, you actually don't have to really kill mob past a certain percentage because you can just rely on Eonar to be killing them for you. So whenever you as a healer are contributing damage or adding damage into the equation, you're always looking at, you know, either the Destructors or Purifiers, occasionally Fell Lords. Those are the ones you're usually going to be kind of going after up to a certain point, and just trying to focus on priority targets as you can. Because again, we're healers, but at the same time, if you're able to add in a little bit of damage and stuff like that, just to ensure that we're going to be in a good position, it'll help out a lot. So what you're going to be seeing here is, as we are going behind the giving tree here, behind Eonar, we jump into these little flowers. The flowers will quickly teleport us to the Paraxis. And here you just have to kill a single Inquisitor, keep everybody in your group topped off. So we actually had, the 3 of us got there in short order very quickly when they popped up, and our 4th DPS took a little bit of time to get back. So right here, I'm just making sure that I'm keeping everybody topped off, and I'm kind of swiveling my camera around the room just to be able to keep an eye out for where my crystal is supposed to be. Locating my yellow crystal, and you're seeing it right here, what it's going to be looking at. Make sure I shadow the crystal, and I'm going to pick up the debuff. You're seeing it right as I walk over it. Anytime I'm moving around and stuff like that, once I leave the ship, that's where it's actually going to start dealing continuous ticking damage to me over the course of the fight. And if you want the debuff to fall off, it'll fall off in stacks. So if you stop moving for a second, it'll remove a stack. So it's usually in quantities of, I believe, 4. So it'll be 4%, then 8%, then 12% extra damage taken just from kind of walking around. So to let your stacks drop, you just have to stand still for very extended periods of time to make sure that not only moving will not take any damage, but the next time that you move will not be dealing too much. So stutter stepping down the pathway to go after these mobs is not usually a viable option, unfortunately, because the stacks can get very high very easily. So planting your feet, making sure that you're watching out for, how high your stacks can get. It shouldn't be too much of a problem, but you always have to bear in mind everything else that's going on in the fight. It can be very easy to kind of lose track of things. So just don't ignore it. And then again, watching right here, for example, I'm in the top group, and our monk actually went downstairs because of the fact that we needed another healer in the middle area. So with this, we're making sure that we're having, appropriate coverage for our DPSers, that we're always going to be having a healer somewhere around the area just to be able to help out here. This is, the easiest way for somebody to die is just them running away from you or just not having a healer in the position that they need to be. And it's a very simple fix. It's always going to be a simple fix, but it's something that just kind of has to continuously be reiterated upon over the course of this fight, because it's very easy for people to kind of just jump around, get distracted by something. They'll see a mob running free into Eonar at one point, and it may even cause them to kind of freak out because of the fact that they're not sure if it's going to be instantly annihilated by Eonar, for example, or if it's just going to go right into the boss and start beating her up. Keep in mind that you're not going to be able to heal the boss for any of the damage that they take, so it will just kind of end up being in that permanent state there. Right here, you will have a number of just different lull periods. So a lot of times you're seeing here, I'm just kind of watching my debuff. I'm letting it kind of tick off on me because the upstairs group kind of has a lull. So I just drop down to finish off a Fell Lord. And as I'm just sitting here, keeping an eye out for, the other groups that are down there, and especially keeping an eye on the group that I was already with, and seeing as they get more mobs, they're going to be needing more healing. And you're seeing the monk and I getting back together, getting up to the top setup here, and making sure that we're having good coverage on everybody. And that's one area where splitting up your focus, for example, it could even be the healers, for example, that are dictating who goes where. If you're saying, okay, we always are going to have a healer top, always going to have a healer bottom, or something like that, making sure that you have those priorities will help out a ton. Because sometimes you're going to be finding areas where, if you're looking below the pathway that we're standing on here, there's actually some mobs that are going to run free, so you might actually have your DPS chasing them down. They'll be taking damage at the time, but as long as they know the area that they need to go to get healing, they should just be fine overall. The scariest part is when people are going to an area where they know there should be healing, there isn't healing available, and this is what actually kills them. Near this end part, it's extremely important to basically cut your losses and make sure you're focusing on killing the mob that is most likely to give you the points here. You're seeing everyone comes around the corner here, focuses down this Fell Lord, because at this point you kind of just need 1 little % of essence. And this is the big thing that actually just tips you over. Like I said, we've had times where we've had all the bats up, and everyone wants to kill the bats, and then we don't kill any bats at all, and then we just die. So, oddly enough, we did die on the kill here, which was very weird, but we kind of failed as we won with this boss, and the Giving Tree gave us some nice free loot. So, good luck with this fight. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be sure to check out the live stream, which is going to be linked in the description below. We're going to be streaming all of our Mythic progression. Hope you all enjoyed it. I'll catch y'all tomorrow.